So in today's training, I'm going to give you 3 of the most powerful strategies, tools, techniques that you can use to manage your hunger and cravings if you're going through a fat loss phase. Because one of the biggest reasons most people fail to lose fat successfully, get abs, and transform their body is they're not able to manage their hunger and cravings, and they make the process of losing fat so much harder than it has to be. So in today's video, we're going to break down 3 of the most powerful techniques I give all my clients to not only turn them into fat burning machines, but make the process of losing fat as easy as possible so they can go to bed feeling full, feeling satiated, and have an approach to their nutrition they can actually stick to. And that's such an important point, guys. So before we get stuck in, it's really important to understand the law of energy balance. It's calories in versus calories out. In order to successfully lose fat, you have to be in a negative energy balance where you consume less calories in a day than you burn on average. It's that simple, guys, because a calorie is just a unit of energy, and we consume calories to go about our daily tasks, or we store the calories as fat. So someone with a lot of fat is someone with a lot of stored energy. So once we've understood that, that's the fundamental principle of weight loss, calories in versus calories out. We can then pick the method, the tool, the strategy that makes sticking to that calorie deficit as easy as possible. And that's so important. There's so many fitfluencers, so many nutrition gurus out there just pushing their certain method, but most of the time it fails to adhere to that fundamental principle of calories in versus calories out. That's why you hear people say, oh, I tried this paleo diet or keto diet, it worked really well. It's because they were in a negative energy balance. And then some people say, oh, I tried keto or paleo, it didn't work at all. They were not in a negative energy balance. It's that simple. So once we've understood the fundamental principle, we can pick the tools, the strategies that work for us and our lifestyle. And that's a really important point. The same tool that works for a 20-year-old fitfluencer living in Bali is not the same tool you're going to need if you're 30 years old living in London and you're managing, a crazy work life, crazy family life. And it's also really important to note there isn't one tool that works for every situation. Yes, you may be able to stick to one tool or one nutrition strategy Monday to Thursday when you're locked in at home in a routine with work, but it's not the same tool you're going to need to have the flexibility or wiggle room when you want to go out for dinner with your wife, or weekends away, or holidays without feeling like you've fallen off plan or tracking every single calorie. That's a really important point. So the goal is to build a toolkit of flexible nutrition tools that you can pull out at different times that make sticking to that calorie deficit as easy as possible. And that's how you build a flexible nutrition plan that you can stick to long enough to see life-changing results, guys. So I want to talk about some of the biggest mistakes I see where people are trying to lose fat. And number 1 is over-restriction. It's usually 2 camps, either eating clean or dropping your calories too low. And the trifecta is the people that are doing both of these. And it makes fat loss so much harder than it has to be. And instead of building a lean, athletic physique and getting in shape, you end up really confused because you feel like you're constantly dieting, constantly training, constantly restricting and getting no results in return. You're constantly thinking about food, your hunger and cravings are through the roof, and then you end up binge eating or raiding the cupboards in the evening or overeating on the weekends and having that negative knock-on effect. I'm going to explain exactly why that happens and show you a better way of doing things. So let's talk about eating clean. This is one I see all the time. So many people go, right, I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to lose fat, I'm just going to eat clean, cut out carbs, cut out sugar. And it's like, great, well, how long are you going to be able to stick to that? And the answer is probably not very long, because it creates too many friction points. A friction point is literally where the goals you want to achieve clash with the life you want to live. Yes, you want to lose fat, get in shape, but you don't want to do it at the cost of not being able to have big family dinners or having dessert in the evening or incorporating the foods you like. And the more friction points, the more chances there are to fall off plan. And the best nutrition plan is one you can actually stick to. So it's really counterproductive, and it makes the process so much harder than it has to be. And not only that, the amount of people that come to me and say, Ollie, I'm eating clean, I'm not eating any sugar, any carbs, and I'm not losing weight. And that's because they are consuming too many of the clean foods. I see it time and time again, and it can be so frustrating because it feels like you're being overly restrictive, you're putting in a massive amount of effort, and you're getting no results in return. And that's because it doesn't adhere to the fundamental principle of calories in versus calories out. And the last, and probably the most important point, is how much do you want something when you're told you can't have it? When you take this clean eating approach, you're demonizing certain foods. And as a result, you end up craving them. You get the people that either can resist those cravings, but then they're stuck in a loop of constantly batting hunger and cravings, really unpleasant place to be. Or the people that give in, they have that negative knock-on effect, and they're like, well, I've messed it up now, I'm just going to eat this food and then I'll start again on Monday. And it's completely unnecessary, and it's the best way to set yourself up for failure. So one of the ways we counteract this is using our flexible dieting protocol. And during the week, we use the 90-10 rule. We know we've got a certain amount of calories we need to consume on average a day to successfully lose fat. It's our calorie deficit number. So 90% of those calories come from whole, nutrient-dense foods hitting our protein targets. And then we set aside 10% of those daily calories for foods we enjoy. We can incorporate the foods we love. For me, that's Terry's chocolate orange. I love Aero bubbles. And if you follow me on Instagram, you see that I have that every single day, because then I no longer crave it. And then I have a flexible nutrition plan I can actually stick to. And if it's enjoyable, I can stick to it for a long time, and then I can get fantastic results. And that's exactly what we do with all our clients. And that is why this tool is so powerful, guys. So let's talk about the people that are like, right, I understand in order to successfully lose weight, I need to be in a negative energy balance. Makes sense. So I'm just just going to cut my calories and stick to it for as long as I can. And this is called the continuous dieting approach. And it's one of the best ways to set yourself up for failure, but I see it all the time because your body's built for survival. It doesn't just want to continually lose weight. And as a result, has a survival mechanism called adaptive thermogenesis. So as you drop your calories, you start to build up diet fatigue. Your weight starts to come down and then suddenly it stops and your body's like, whoa, I don't want to continually just burn more fat. So it increases your energy input. It brings your hunger and cravings up. So you start to get hungry, you start to think about food all the time, and it reduces your energy output. It slows your metabolism down. So you get tired, you get lethargic. And as a result, when these come together, it becomes a really sticky, really horrible place to be. And I see it all the time with people that have lost a fair amount of weight, maybe 5, 10 kilos. Then suddenly their progress stops, but they're doing exactly what they were doing before. And then they start to panic. They're like, well, you know, either I need to drop my calories more or do more exercise, and then it becomes unsustainable, unenjoyable, and they end up falling off plan, or they just stick to what they're doing, but they feel like they're spinning their wheels and they're getting no results in return. And most people end up sticking to it for a few months, seeing no results, and then, just getting fed up and then end up rebounding and falling back into a worse position than they were. One of the tools we use when people are stuck in this position, they come to us, they've been stuck in a plateau, they're like, I lost 10 kilos, now what I'm doing is no longer working, I've been spinning my wheels for 6 months, is we use our metabolic reset protocol. And depending on their age, how much body fat they have, how long they've been training, how long they've been in a negative energy balance for, we would typically at the beginning of the journey or working with us, bring them out their calorie deficit, strategically reset the metabolism, get everything firing at a faster rate, and then drop them back into a small calorie deficit. And what they find is that everything starts to fire again. They start to lose weight, but they're eating more food. And like I said, it just makes this whole process so much easier. And it's really, really common, especially when our clients are on the first 90 days of our program. They'll lose anywhere between 10, 12 kilos. And then we use our metabolic reset protocol. We have a week or 2 weeks where we bring them out of the calorie deficit, we increase their calories, and then they end up eating more calories than they were before, but they're 12 kilos lighter and they can't believe it. They're like, oh my God, I'm eating so much food and I'm in fantastic shape. So many people skip this step. As a result, they overly restrict, hit their goal weight, and then end up rebounding. So the last thing I want to talk about is stress and emotional eating. This is such an important one. There's a misconception that emotional eating only affects women, and it's not true. It's one of the biggest reasons most men aren't able to manage the hunger and cravings, aren't able to actually stick to their calorie deficit long enough to lose fat and become healthier, happier versions of themselves. So in order to understand how a habit is formed, you need to understand the 4 stages of a habit loop. We've got cue, craving, response, reward. All of these need to come together to create a good habit or create a bad habit. So for the person that overeats in the evenings, cue, I'm sitting there, I'm stressed, I've had a shit day at work, my boss was an asshole, or my kids are pissing me off, I've got an uncomfortable feeling. Craving, I know if I have a cookie or have a snack or have my favorite food, I'm no longer going to feel this feeling. Response, get up, get the cookie, eat the snack, whatever it is. Reward, I'm no longer thinking about how shit my day was or the things that were pissing me off for about 5 minutes. And then people tend to overeat, and then that has a negative knock-on effect. Oh, you were doing so well, you were eating so clean, now you've just ruined everything. And then that frustration spills in, and that adds to that mental load, that stress. So for those of you that can really relate to this, I want to quickly talk about how maybe you can manipulate one of the stages of the habit loop to break the bad habit of kind of over-consuming in the evening. So cue, I'm uncomfortable, I'm stressed, I'm tired, kids are pissing me off. Craving, I know I'll have a cookie. Response, go up, open the cupboard. Oh, there are no cookies. So we've raised the barrier of resistance. So you have to get in the car, go buy them, or you have to, walk to the shops for 15 minutes. And most people aren't willing to do that. We've broken step 3, so you no longer have the reward, therefore you no longer overeat. And that's just a really simple example of how you can break it. And I can't express how important it is to address your bad habits, guys, and install good habits. That's how you shift your identity over time. That's how you completely transform your body. And the amount of times I'm chatting to new clients that are coming in and they're like, oh, I worked with this coach, I worked with that coach, it worked really well. I'm like, great, where were your results? And they're like, oh, I did see results, but I ended up falling off plan after working together, or I slipped into old behavior patterns. And it's like, well, it didn't work then, because the goal is not to see results and then rebound. It's to see results, shift your identity, install the habits, the systems, everything you need to not only maintain your results, but continue to get results long after working with your coach. And that's exactly what we do. We install our habit mastery system where we focus on installing good habits, breaking bad habits, and shifting that person's identity so they can not only maintain their results, but continue to get results long after working with us. And it's so, so powerful, guys. We have a whole system built to this. And then we have calls where people jump on, we work through the habit audits, we build awareness, and that's how you get fantastic results over the long term, because this process isn't just about seeing results and then rebounding. It's about seeing results long enough to completely transform your life and becoming a healthier, happier version of you. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.